Hey, what up, everybody? Welcome back to this episode of the Generational Beef Podcast. I am your host, Tristan Terrell.
Generational beef.
Yeah, as well as my dad,
Noel Terrell, co-host of Generational Beef.
the Beef.
Beef.
All right, let's hop right in. There's been a good amount of news coming out this week. We'll start with the first one, kind of. I don't know chronological whether it was the first franchise tag or it was this move, but we'll go with this one. David Montgomery traded to the Texans. Fourth, a seventh, and then like a depth guard, pretty sure, going to the Lions for David Montgomery.
Yeah, I don't know. I find this one a little bit weird initially, and I actually like Montgomery quite a bit. So I like him as a player. I like the way he runs the ball. But I also think he really requires that change of pace back, which is what Gibbs gives him. Now, if I'm Gibbs, I'm stoked because Gibbs could have a crazy year. He's been great the last 2 years anyway, but I think he could have a crazy year this year.
Well, that was going to be my first take was let's look at fantasy draft mocks now. Gibbs might be 101.
He has to be probably one, right?
I mean,
It's
him,
McCaffrey has another
Bijan.
year.
It's him, Bijan, Jamar Chase, Christian McCaffrey. Somewhere in that realm.
This catapults him up the list.
Absolutely.
From a Houston's perspective, and part of this is, and I didn't have the chance to look at this today, but where's Mixon in this mix? No pun intended.
I mean, he didn't play at all last season, so you hope he comes back. But he's also old.
I feel like he'll come back healthy. I think. Look, there's the young guy that's on that roster too that I think they're hoping will do something.
Woody Marks.
Because I think I do think that Montgomery is better with a change of pace back, right? Because he can come in and hammer you. And then you have a guy like Gibbs who can do both, but obviously has that crazy speed. So I don't think this hurts Detroit. Maybe in some goal line situations where, Montgomery is probably a little better inside the 3. But overall, I would say that at least initially, this is probably a win for the Lions. I don't know. I mean, but maybe Montgomery will prove us wrong and maybe he can carry the load.
I mean, I don't think it really hurts
because I think he's a great back. I like him as a player for sure.
I don't think it really hurts the Lions any, just because, I mean, you get down into the red zone, you do still have Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra, who are great red zone threats, and then it changes the way you call the offense, but I don't know that it changes the effectiveness of it, right? Like, no, Jahmyr Gibbs is not going right up the middle from the three times and whatever, trying to get in. But it doesn't mean that he's going to be any less effective getting in. It's just a different play.
No, I'm not. Wasn't saying
no,
that.
No. I'm aware. I'm just saying that I don't know that it really hurts them or affects them all that much.
I will say from the Houston perspective, I do think Montgomery fits the style they're going to want to play this year with his up and down, although he was really strong towards the end of the season, that CJ can bring sometimes. And you have a defense that's playing at the level that their defense played at this year. Montgomery is kind of that guy that fits that mold. Like, we're going to run and play great defense and just make, play action pass our MO. So I think he fits that.
Yeah.
He has had some injury concerns on and off throughout his career. And, not lengthy ones and not serious ones necessarily, but he has had them. And if he's getting every carry, what does that look like? So I do think it also depends on I can't remember the young guy you mentioned.
Woody Marks.
I do think it depends on, how much can he do and is he ready to take that step? And what's Mixon going to do? Because as far as I know, he's still in the roster, right?
He is, but I think the ultimate plan here would be that you're getting a couple years younger and less injury prone with David Montgomery instead of Joe Mixon. And then I think the goal would probably be to go with kind of a mixed backfield change of pace with Woody Marks and David Montgomery. Woody Marks had the one stellar game in like week 4 or 5. He had 2 touchdowns, had like 34 fantasy points on my bench or whatever, because that was the week I picked him up and didn't play him. but then after that didn't do much all year. And in fairness, their offense didn't do much all year, right? But he didn't do much. But I think having a good change of pace back that's better than Nick Chubb at this point in 2026 is probably going to help you out there. Um, and in fairness, we're saying all this, and their offense could still be bad, right? So it may all be kind of a moot point. Um, but when you like you said, when you have a guy like CJ Stroud still on his rookie contract that is as good of a quarterback as he is, and yeah, obviously he has flaws, and yeah, obviously we haven't seen a repeat performance of his rookie year yet. He's still a good quarterback, and he's still young, so you got to
But
try
I
to
think he's going to
capitalize
go
on
into
that.
this season with arguably the best roster he's played with,
I agree. I
especially if
agree.
they make some changes at offensive line that obviously they have to
Well,
make.
and that's a big deal too, because none of this matters, especially when we're talking about trading for a running back. None of this matters if the offensive line it doesn't improve, and it started to improve late in the year last year, but it wasn't. It still
Yeah, I mean
was.
their offense
It
was
still was.
really good the last 7, 8 games of the year.
It was still. I wouldn't say really good. It was better.
Well,
But
I mean, I guess compared to what we had seen. So,
fair. But I would say that at the end of the day, even though we saw improvements from their offensive line, it was still bottom half of the league. Now that might be 17, 18, 19, but that's still bottom half of the league. And when you're a playoff team, that's not good. So you really got to see improvement there consistently for CJ to be able to play well, and obviously for a trade like David Montgomery to even matter. But we'll see how that goes. I think it's a
yep.
good move ultimately. Obviously, you're not giving up a ton. It's a fourth and a seventh. Like, okay.
Yeah. I
Um,
And obviously if you're the Lions, you have complete confidence in Gibbs.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
Now with them,
um
you got to concern yourself with the entire rest of the division is great.
I will say there is one
And
other aspect, and this is not a knock on Gibbs, it's just something that I feel like Montgomery's really good at. And so the one thing you might miss in certain scenarios is the pass protection piece.
yeah,
Now, they
yeah.
didn't use him like that very often because usually Gibbs would be out there on third down anyway. And so, Gibbs would usually obviously be in a pattern. So they weren't using him that because they have such a good offensive line anyway. Um, they weren't really using running backs to pick up the blitz or do things like that. But Montgomery is good at it. So it is in a game if you needed it, that is kind of a missing
Right.
piece.
In the occasional game where Jared Goff does get kind of
Hand-
run up at some point,
Right.
like yeah,
So,
it's good to have an extra blocker,
all
extra
right.
body out there.
Uh, Kyler Murray.
Whoa. All right. We'll jump right to it. Yeah, Kyler.
I mean, it's obviously the biggest news of the day.
There's some big news. I don't know if I would consider it the biggest just because 2020 was great for him, and since then he's barely been on the field, and when he
Here's why
is,
it's
he's
big news.
okay, not
I,
great.
I don't
Uh,
disagree with that. Why it's big news is what the potential of him was. And now he's your first round pick and you're not getting any value out of that, right? That says a lot about at least the perception of Kyler Murray with other teams, or that they knew that there was no way he was staying in Arizona and let's just wait this thing out until we can just pick him up and save some money, right? So
I
I
mean,
don't
that's
know
there's
exactly what to make of it. Obviously, there's always been rumors around his work ethic and things like that. Um, we saw him play obviously at OU. I do feel like he's a competitor. Sometimes I do wonder this, which is obviously he was an elite baseball player too, and there was always rumors swirling that that was what he preferred to do. But in baseball, to get the big contract, it takes a lot longer. Where he was able to go get drafted at the top of the draft and make a lot more money than he would have at baseball for a while. And so I've always wondered a little bit, maybe his heart just wasn't in it, and this was a way to make the dollars faster.
it's
Um,
possible for sure.
I don't know because obviously the talent was elite. I understand he's undersized for an NFL quarterback, but with his athleticism and speed and things like that, I don't think it's all that relevant. And does he have some traditional issues those guys have? Yeah, sometimes he gets a lot of block balls and things like that, but so does Baker from that perspective. So I just wonder because I don't think there's any doubt the talent was there, the athleticism was there, the throws were there, and we saw him play a lot, right? And so I just look at it and I wonder sometimes if it just was his heart wasn't in it, but it was the way to make the money the fastest. And look, if that's why he did it, I don't blame him for that. It wasn't great for the team. But there were early on, there were rumors and talk that he just wasn't working hard and he didn't watch film the way he should, and he wasn't progressing as a player.
Call of Duty is
Um,
a big distractor, man.
I mean, I guess. I don't know what to make of it. Is it that no team saw value, or did they know that was it pretty known that Arizona was going to, if he didn't get a trade offer, they were going to release him when they did because of the impact? And if that's true, then were people just waiting them out?
I mean, and that's possible
I
too.
can't imagine he won't sign somewhere. I
I
just
think
can't
the other
imagine it.
part of it too is kind of just that uh his value isn't worth what they're paying him, and so nobody wants to pay him that.
But they don't
And
have to this year.
no, 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 no. That's what I'm saying. Is
Right.
what I'm saying is that I don't know that necessarily it was waiting them out, assuming they were going to cut him. I think it's more just that if your option was let him stay on the Cardinals or trade for him and pay him that contract, I think 31 out of the 32 teams in the league, 32 out of 32, if the Cardinals had the option, right, wouldn't take on that contract. And so I think
Yeah,
that's
no, I
kind of
get
the
that, but I
point there.
guess part of that weight was, well, if we sign him, off waivers, then we don't have to pay it. The Cardinals do.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. But that's kind of what I'm saying is
Yeah.
it's always about the fact that now he'll get a job because they don't have to pay him that. It was never gonna be like, oh, we might pay him that. Like, no, nobody was ever gonna pay him that.
I think this is another example,
So
though, of a franchise that struggles to make the right decisions. Like, the Cardinals have had flashes over the years where they've been good, but for the most part, they can't maintain that. And there's been two reasons. Obviously, people have always accused the franchise of being cheap, uh, and not paying players, aside from a few. There's also been just that they just don't make the right decisions, similar to what the Dolphins did with Tua. If there was still a lot of doubt within that franchise about him, obviously, when they signed him to the bigger deal. And it sounds like the answer was you shouldn't have done that. You should have figured out another option before all of these rumors and all of these things were out there that hurt his value. And that was the other thing that just, again, if those things were true, right, that kept coming out, and it seems likely that maybe they were, but if they were, as a team, the worst thing you can do is release that stuff. You hurt his value.
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, there's people in the building, uh, media
I know, but there
members.
are
I
teams
don't.
that keep that stuff under wraps.
Well, there's teams that just don't have players that do it. They just don't put up with it. You know what I mean?
Well, they don't put up with it, but they also aren't going to release a great player for nothing. They're going to keep things like that under wraps, and they're going to get something for it, right? It's
Yeah,
just,
yeah, sure. I also just don't think that. Unfortunately, as much as I love him, I don't think that at the NFL level, Kyler's that great of a player. Unfortunately, his body doesn't
I
hold
mean,
up. He gets hurt,
I don't know that
and
he
he's
can't
just
be,
too inconsistent. I
but
don't know whether or not he can be. I just don't think he is. And
yeah.
so, I mean,
All right.
the first half of 2020 was great for him. You know, he had
Yep.
DeAndre Hopkins and Larry Fitzgerald, and that team was good. And they started the season like what 8-0, 9-0, something like that, and then went on a skid and lost in the first round of the playoffs. Like, what are you gonna do? And ever
Yep.
since then,
Brees Hall.
yeah, I mean, Brees Hall, franchise
I don't
tag.
think this is news.
I
Here's why.
kind of do.
Here's why it's
Well,
not news. Here's why it's not news. They obviously want him. He's obviously a good running back. He's been in terrible situations.
yeah.
But hold on. This isn't news because they're going to get a deal done. They just haven't done it.
No,
There is because here's the thing. They have to know. And Brees Hall would be an idiot to do it. With this team, you don't step on that field without a deal. You don't. Not with this team. If you were with a team that was a contender and you wanted to be a part of that, maybe. You do not step on the field as a New York Jet without a contract.
The only
That
thing
is
I
what that would be done.
the only thing I would say is that at the end of the day, the franchise tag is a lot of money, and if you're holding out, you don't get that money. So that
No,
does
I get that. But I'm just saying I believe this is just because they didn't get it done yet. They didn't want him to be out there. This tag was meant to say, look, we're working on it. We want to get it done. But if you're him, you do not step on a football field without a contract. Not for the Jets.
yeah.
Period.
I mean, I think that's fair. I also just think that I I don't know. I it does surprise me a little bit just because if the Jets were going quarterback in this draft class, I could understand it, but they're not. So I just find it a little bit weird because you're bringing him back to the same bad situation that he's already been in, and not to say that it's his fault, right? Like he's a good back, right? But you're bringing him back to that same bad situation. You're not fixing quarterback this year, at least not like long term. Maybe you go get Kyler for the year or whatever, but not long term. Um, you've still got Garrett Wilson. Maybe you draft another receiver early in the draft, or maybe you go all defense and then pick up a couple guys, whatever. Maybe it looks slightly better on paper, but it's going to be very similar. And the quarterback, whether it's Justin Fields or whether it's half a season of Kyler Murray and then go back to Justin Fields because Kyler gets hurt, or whatever it is, it's not going to be better. And so I guess you're right. Like it's got to be they're trying to get a long term deal done, obviously, and that kind of thing. Because then you're hoping that whoever you get at quarterback in the next draft class does it for you. But I just
But here's
don't.
the thing. His agent is terrible if he steps on the field without a
Maybe sure. I
It's one
just
thing
also
again if you're
think.
playing for a winning team, this team isn't going to win a bunch of games this year.
Yeah, I also just think that if I'm the Jets, right, and this is why the Jets are the Jets. But if I'm the Jets, I don't know that Brees Hall to me is worth the franchise tag. Like,
Then trade him.
yeah, I get, but that's the other thing too is that
Get
the other
something.
other franchises aren't the Jets, right? Like, I don't know that I would trade for Brees Hall on a franchise tag unless running back is literally all I need. And what team in the league is that right now? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. I'm just saying, more than anything, he should never touch the field without a contract.
yeah, that's fair.
Not for this team. Daniel Jones,
Yeah, Daniel Jones transition tag. I think it's like $37 million, something like that.
37.8.
Yeah, if that's what ends up going through to this season, or obviously a team can try to sign him, and then they'll either succeed in signing him, or the Colts would have 48 hours to match that offer sheet. And so, if he prefers the long-term stability over the 1 year contract, and somebody wants to offer him 3 years for 90 mil, get 30 a year or whatever, then the Colts have a real decision to make. Do we want to lock him in for 3 years? Um, or
Here's the
do we let him walk? I don't know whether he'll get a contract like that, but it is possible. He played well until he got hurt, and then everything
But here's
started
the
to fall
thing.
apart. But
Here's the thing. I feel confident that the Colts feel confident that will not occur. And here's why. We saw, 4 years of terrible quarterback play out of Daniel Jones. We saw 8 games of pretty elite quarterback play out of Daniel Jones, and then he had a catastrophic injury. A season-ending injury, I guess, is more appropriate, especially today. They can repair that pretty good now. But point is, we saw 8 games of an elite offensive roster playing really good. No one's paying him, giving him 3-year 90 when they don't know what they're actually going to get. It wasn't a big enough sample size to make that leap.
okay, well,
That's my take on it.
he had a career year where he threw 15 passing touchdowns in a season, in a full season, and won a playoff game, and got a bag from the Giants, and became the
I
biggest
know.
meme in the league.
I know.
Nobody's ever
That's
going
why
to
no
pay him.
one's doing this.
Nobody's ever going to pay him again. And guess what? He, bare minimum, has a $37 million contract next year.
But there's no risk. There's no risk to the Colts because it's over this year.
Well,
They
there is.
obviously have the cap room to do it. So
No, well, kind of. They have the guy that everybody is calling probably the second or third best wide receiver free agent in the league this year, in Alec Pierce, who is actually a big part of that offense being as good as it is, and they're still
well,
trying to work
the
out a
biggest piece
contract.
is JT,
I
but
didn't say the biggest. I said he is actually a big piece to it,
yeah.
right? Um, and they said they're still trying to work out a contract with him, and everybody thought they were going to franchise tag him. But now that you transition tag Daniel Jones, you cannot franchise tag him, which means there is the possibility that he just walks, and then you lose it,
Look,
right? So there is
here's the
risk.
only
There is risk.
here's the only other possibility from the Colts. They want this other contract to be offered so they can go back to him and say, "Look, man, this is the market. This is what we're willing to pay. We're not giving you 50 million, right? Not going to do it. You got that bag. We're done with that. You just tested the market. It's not out there."
No, sure, and obviously that's kind of why you do it. But I guess my
I
my
I honestly
point
don't think
is,
that's going to occur, but I could
I
be wrong.
my point is that there
'Cause who's
is
going to do that?
do what?
Who's going to offer him a 3-year 90 right
I
now?
mean, it's $30 million. Like,
It's $30 million if you don't already have a high price quarterback. And most of the people that really need that are people that have a high price quarterback on their roster they can't get rid of right now, like a Deshaun or a Tua or whatever. Like those are the teams that would take that chance, but they can't. They can't afford it.
yeah, I mean, to some degree that's fair, but I like the Vikings, right? What's to
Yeah,
say?
maybe. He's
You know
got
what
to
I
be
mean?
better than 9.
Yeah, I mean he definitely is. There's I don't have any
Um,
question mark about that. I don't have any
right.
doubt that he's better than JJ McCarthy. So you know, I think it's interesting. I think ultimately it is relatively, like you were saying, it is relatively low risk for the Colts. And no, I don't expect some major contract to come for Daniel Jones, but it is possible. And we've seen crazier things before. Teams get desperate, especially when you're talking the most valuable position in sports. Teams get desperate. Teams do dumb things, right? It happens. Um, Teams draft Michael Penix and JJ McCarthy in the first round because they're desperate, right? Like it happens. Mac Jones was a first round pick. It happens. Like
Yep.
the
Pickens.
Yeah, I mean, so George Pickens gets tagged. I think that what's honestly happening here is that George Pickens believes that he deserves to be paid like a true number one in this league, and for what it's worth, I believe that that's true. I believe he does. I believe he's that talented.
You're wrong.
I
Well,
don't
I'll
think
tell you.
that the Cowboys should pay him that, right? Because they
Well,
can't.
he
First of
definitely
all,
shouldn't.
they can't. First of all, and second of all, um, there you just don't invest that much money into receiver, right, between two guys because CeeDee Lamb already is being paid like a number one in the league. I do believe George Pickens truly is that, and his best games were the games that CeeDee Lamb wasn't playing. So it's not even just like, oh, he had a great year because
Yeah, but who were those
CeeDee.
games against?
No, but he
Mm,
it's not even because CeeDee Lamb was on the field and taking all the attention away from him that he had a great year. And it wasn't even just statistically that he had a great year. You watch the tape, like he was really, really good. He's very, very talented. He was always that talented in Pittsburgh. Nobody got him the ball. And he was dramatic, right? But I do believe most receivers that are really good in the league are, though. So, um,
mm,
most of them. Um,
not the best two.
Jamar Chase
Not number
definitely.
3.
Jamar
Not
Chase
number
definitely is. Jamar Chase throws Joe Burrow under the bus constantly,
No,
even
he
though they're
doesn't.
good
No,
friends.
he
Yes,
doesn't.
he does. He literally
That is
will
not
go into a press conference and say, I was open when Joe Burrow was the quarterback playing. And he's done
okay.
it on several occasions. My
But
point
anyway,
being, he doesn't take accountability. He is dramatic, for sure. Justin Jefferson, for the most part, is not. Other than that, and Puka hasn't had a need to be yet. We'll see, right? Same thing with JSN.
JSN's not.
He hasn't had a need to be yet. We'll see,
Anyway,
right?
look,
Most of
here's
the
the thing.
best in the league are. Anyways, the only concern I
Definitely the
have with George,
Cowboys should sign him.
well, duh. The only concern I have with George Pickens would be character concerns. But again, most of the great receivers in the league, I have that concern about. That's something you just got to suck up.
Wait, a
I
character
believe.
concern and diva are 2 different things.
No, that's what I mean. It's like dramatic, right? Like character concern, dramatic. Um, character concern to potential harm to the locker room, I would say, which most top end receivers I do have that concern about. How are they going to hurt my locker room at some point, right? AJ Brown, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams has done it. All of them,
Here's what
right?
I know. Here's
Um,
what I do know. A true number one puts up numbers no matter who their quarterback is.
Sometimes.
Pickens didn't do it. Pickens didn't do it until he got Dak.
I mean, he had good years before that. He had a career year this year, obviously, because he had a career best quarterback. But what I'm saying is he's good. Justin Jefferson didn't put up numbers this year, right? It's not
For the first time in his career, but he's played with 4 different guys.
right, but none of them were like terrible. Like none of them were great, but none of them were
Well,
terrible.
no one thought Sam Darnold was what he's come.
Sure. Sam Darnold was really good, but my point was that none of them were terrible, right? Um, my point is that at some point it does matter, right? And so I believe that George Pickens had a great year. I do believe that he probably deserves to be paid like a top end number one, maybe not 30 a year, but maybe 25. Um, Obviously, do I believe that the Cowboys should give him that? No, but I think they tagged him in the hope that maybe they can get him to come down a bit. I don't think they're going to be able to. So it'll be very interesting to see what comes of that because
He'll definitely not play.
well, that's a guy that I won't be shocked if he doesn't play. And then it's very 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 interesting, especially because even if he sits out next year, I do think that he could get from someone that kind of money. I do believe that. I don't think people would be concerned about it. So it the Cowboys are in a tough spot right now because I mean it's self-inflicted. Their
Look,
contracts are
so here's
terrible.
my opinion on this, and you know this. So I'm going to equate it to another situation where I feel like the team made the wrong decision, and this is the Chase Higgins thing. When you have a
Yeah,
number
don't do it.
one
Don't do it.
as good as CeeDee Lamb, and you have a number one as good, as Jamar Chase, who, as we've talked about before, 1A, 1B between Chase and Jefferson. You could go back and forth who you think is who. But then there's a little bit of a drop, and then CD's at that next tier, right? When you have a number one guy, you can get a guy in the third, fourth, fifth round of a draft that will complement him very well, right? And be able to be open because of what the other guy will get. You don't need to sign to I think the biggest mistake they made for Burrow's future is not going out and getting a new guy, letting Higgins go get his number one money somewhere else potentially, and not fixing the defense. And if the Cowboys were to sign him to that contract, they'd be making the same mistake that the Bengals made. And so, the only thing I would give the Cowboys over the Bengals, and I don't really like to give the Cowboys anything, but is traditionally the Cowboys are a good drafting team, right? So, which is even more of a reason not to do it. They can probably draft that guy. In addition, I know they can draft defensive talent. They regularly do it. So it's a little bit different because all the problems I have with Jerry Jones, one of them isn't his drafting skills. They typically do a pretty good job of that. They usually have talent on the roster. They just do really good job or bad job of getting coach right and other things like that. So I don't think anybody should sign 2 receivers to that kind of money anymore. If you've got a true number one, then you can get a guy that'll complement them. And it doesn't need to be another $25 million, $30 million guy. It's ridiculous.
I
The T. Higgins Chase deal is going to haunt that franchise at some point.
I agree with everything you have said. The only pushback I would give to play devil's advocate here is that while I agree with what you're saying, there is a big difference between Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, right? CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, much exponentially as great as T. Higgins is, exponentially closer to each other in talent than Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, right? That's
Yeah,
not me.
but
That
that
is
doesn't
not me
mean T.
saying,
Higgins
oh,
isn't a number one.
that is not. I mean, I think he would
He
be a
could be
number
on a
one
lot of teams.
on a good amount of teams. I don't know that that's a great number one for what it's worth, right? Like I do believe George Pickens is a much better number one than T. Higgins, right? He could be T. Higgins.
I'm not convinced of that.
I am. T. Higgins could be a number one, but if he was a number one, he might be like the 15th best number one in the league. I think that George Pickens could be like 7 or 8, right? Um, my point being that I agree with you. You don't pay them both. The question then becomes, which one are you more okay with letting go of?
It's not CD.
I mean, I don't think so, but if you can get
First, you've
George
already signed
Pickens,
CD. You've already signed him.
sure, but you don't want to let George Pickens walk for
And
nothing
I
either.
think overall, CD Lamb is a better player.
I think yes, slightly, but I think it's a lot closer than you give it credit for. And if you can get 4 or 5 million a year less, and then
But he's
also
not.
trade
The reason they're
CD
tagging him
Lamb,
right now is he's a big diva and he thinks he should get upper. He's not
sure,
going to come off his number much. I promise you.
sure. But I guess my point is, even if it's a little bit cheaper than CD Lamb, and you can trade CD Lamb for a lot of good value and get something out of it, maybe that is better. First of all, I don't
Okay.
think any of this is going to happen because Jerry Jones is very set in his ways on whenever he gets attached to a player on making sure that he's there.
Until they
Um,
try to hold him hostage and Micah
but
Parsons is in Green Bay.
right, but that is few and far between. He doesn't do that often. Normally, he just gives out bad
I agree with
contracts.
that statement. I
So my
agree with that
point
statement.
is, I'm not going to be shocked when they do figure out a way somehow to give George Pickens
I
a
will
crazy
love it if they
contract.
do.
I agree, and then it'll be dumb, right? But I mean, we'll see.
All right. To me, the smartest move of the day, Kyle Pitts.
I mean, he had a
He's
good year.
been, until this season, he's been a bust. He's been one of the most hit or miss tight ends with that kind of talent maybe we've ever seen.
I would say
He had a
based
really
on
good he had a really good year this last year. I think this is Atlanta saying, "Look, man, you had a great year. We need to see a little more before we're going to shell out some money."
yeah, for
And
sure.
I think it's actually super smart.
I would say that he's actually. I mean, I think his production on the field over the last several years has been underrated for two reasons. I think first of all, everybody expected him to be a massive, massive fantasy player, and he hasn't been for most of his career. And so because of that, I think that he gets
But that's
over.
because he doesn't catch the football
No, no, no,
much.
no. Stop. He's my point is he's had good years. People were expecting him to be not only tight end one, but to be like far and away that guy, and he hasn't been. So he gets overhated on because of fantasy production. People draft him in like the third and fourth round when they're drafting Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews over the last several years, that kind of stuff. And he hasn't been those guys, right? Obviously. So I think that he gets overhated for that. And then I think the other reason is something that's not in his control, right? Is he was drafted fourth overall in the NFL draft. And so because of that, due to the value that he's given you based on where you drafted him, yeah, no, it hasn't been great. But when you just look at his production compared to other tight ends in the league, he's been a pretty solid tight end for several years now. And this year had a really good season. So I think that he gets overhated on and his production gets underplayed a little bit. However, I mostly agree with you. I think that like this is kind of a prove it year for him. Like, no, you don't want to give him a crazy contract right now. But also part of that is just because his production has been pretty good, not great. But again, I think that people talk about his production as if it's been like below average or something like that, or like bad.
So
But
what do you think
that's not true
average
either.
would be? What do you think
I
average
think
would be?
I think average for a good, solid tight end in the NFL, 700 yards and 5 to 8 touchdowns in a year.
How much again?
Eh, I said 700 yards and 5 to 8 touchdowns, just depending on the year. I think that those numbers are
He's had two
pretty
seasons where he
good.
had more than. He's had two seasons where he went over 700 yards.
But again,
He has
in
15
both of
total touchdowns in 5 NFL seasons as a tight
no,
end.
but well, first of all, depends on the
By the
offense.
way,
Not
his rookie
all.
year, and this is a crazy stat. His rookie year, he was targeted 110 times and only caught the ball 68 of them.
Well, but you also got to think about like who was playing quarterback for them, right? Like a lot of bad
I
passes.
don't care.
Just because he's targeted 110 times doesn't mean that he has 110 catchable balls. He probably had like 90 catchable balls, if that. That might be high.
He caught
Desmond
68 of them.
Desmond Ritter was his
Larry
starting
Fitzgerald
quarterback.
had more tackles than drops in his career.
But that's not all drops. And even if it's a catchable ball, it doesn't mean it ends up being a drop, right? Like,
It doesn't have to be a drop if you don't get your feet in bound. That's your job.
no, but my point is there's plenty of reasons for a ball to be incomplete. My point is Desmond Ritter was his quarterback that season. Desmond Ritter, he's not in the league anymore. Right? Like, it
Maybe
wasn't
part of that's because he
good.
played with Kyle Pitts.
No, part of that is because he's just not that good at quarterback. Like, he only ever got drafted because Cincinnati was an elite football team at that time when he was in college. And yeah, he was a pretty good quarterback in college, but they went undefeated 2 years in a row against bad opponents. And that's why Desmond Ritter got drafted. And he probably shouldn't have. Um, he
Okay.
was not a good
Who's
quarterback.
had the better career? Pat Fryermuth or Kyle Pitts?
I think Pat Fryermuth is a pretty good tight end. So I mean, they're both. I would put them in very similar veins.
He
I would
was
say.
drafted in the second round, and who's he had at quarterback?
I mean,
Same year.
similar. Similar. I would say. Now he has had Aaron Rodgers and he has had Russell Wilson, who played well when he played, and yeah,
And he had who else? Justin Fields.
for like 4 or 5 games, but they didn't really pass the ball at any point during that. Um, his tight end or his touchdown numbers have been higher, but other than that, they're about the same. The reason that his touchdown numbers have been higher is that they haven't had like a major red zone threat or anything like that, right? Bijan Robinson obviously is their biggest go-to weapon in the red zone, and then after that, Drake London. So like, not all tight ends are like elite touchdown number guys, and that's fine. I guess my point is that no, I'm not trying to sit here and
But when
say
you
Kyle
draft a
Pitts
tight end
is
number 4, you're expecting elite touchdown numbers.
again. I willingly admitted at the beginning of this that the uh value for where he was drafted has not been good, obviously, but that's not his fault. I would say that he gets talked about like he's a below average tight end in the league, if not worse. And I would say, based on production, I think that he is a pretty good tight end. So, like, if you were making me rank them, I would put him and Pat
So let me
Fryermuth,
put
and
it to
I'm
you this
just
way.
throwing out random numbers.
Fryermuth,
I would say him and Pat Fryermuth are probably both in the 7 to 10 range among tight ends in the league. But I think that Kyle Pitts gets talked
so
about like he's
Fryermuth
the
has about
22nd
800
best tight
less
end in the league.
yards.
That's a lot.
He has about 800 less yards,
That's a lot. That's a season worth.
but he's the most games he's ever started was 11. He doesn't start very often. He
I mean,
starts 9, 8, 9, 11, and 8. And he only has 800 less yards. He has 7 more touchdowns.
it's not like it's
And he was
not
drafted
like
in the second round. He doesn't cost Kyle Pitts money.
it's not like it's not like this is a quarterback, right? Like you play multiple tight ends almost all the time, especially in Pittsburgh, right? Um, just to not be the starter means you had to play at least one less snap than the other guy, right? Like,
But the difference is 15, 10, 15, 15, 17.
so what? My point is that the Falcons haven't had any other tight ends. Like, they haven't had another guy to take snaps away from Kyle Pitts, right? Like, Pat
Anyway,
Fryermuth was
the the
probably played
the
a
point
pretty
I was
similar
trying to
number
make
of
here,
snaps.
the point I'm making is this was a really smart move. You shouldn't be paying him top end quarterback or tight end money until you see a little bit more,
Yeah, no, I mean, I believe that to be true, probably, but
which was my whole point to begin with.
I
This was a
guess,
smart move by the Falcons.
yeah, I mean, I guess my only thing is that I think that um Kyle Pitts gets hated on more than he should. It was my only contention in this conversation. Um, like,
All right, NFL Combine.
well, hold on. There's still Slow
I don't
your
care
roll.
about the trades and stuff. It was more about the
No,
franchise tag.
there's no trades. We already talked about the only trade. There's some other news.
Okay.
Kenneth Walker didn't get tagged. How we feel about that? That's a pretty big deal. I mean,
I
uh,
mean, they must be
if
comfortable letting him test the market. I guess we'll see.
if he ends up on a different team next season, he will only be the fourth player in the history of the league to win Super Bowl MVP and then immediately in the next season, week 1, be on a different roster.
I will say, I don't know ultimately if it's the right move. I will say, if I'm a Seahawks fan, I look at it and say, maybe we're actually trying to do some smart things here.
I
We're not
agree.
getting caught up in the moment. We're not getting caught up in the moment. Whether it's the right move or not, I don't know. Right. But I do think at least it's a signal that we're going to take emotional out of these. We're going to take emotions out of these decisions, and we're going to try to do it the right way when we do it. Um, and so I don't know if it's the right move. I do think it's a positive, um, at least a positive sign if I'm a Seattle fan.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, um, I agree because we had this conversation right after the Super Bowl, and you said he could get paid like crazy, and I said I think it's possible, but that I think that the league probably understands his value pretty closely. I think he's probably somewhere in the 10-ish range of best running back in the league. I don't think that, like, yeah, he had an elite run in the playoffs, right? But so did Nick Foles at one point. You know what I mean? Like, uh,
Different situation, but fine. Sure.
sure, Kenneth Walker was in a better situation to succeed than Nick Foles was, but anyways, my point being that you can have a few game run. It doesn't mean that you deserve to get, $12
I'm
million
not
a
even
year.
suggesting that's true necessarily.
I don't think
I
he's
felt
gonna
like
get a crazy
I felt like
bag.
it would happen. We'll see. Like I said, I don't know if it's the right move, but I think
I think ultimately it is.
if the Dolphins did something like that, I'd be like, okay,
Right.
right. So
Another one is that you got to feel for Joe Burrow because the Bengals officially did not tag Trey Hendrickson, and because we understand how their relationship has gone, the Bengals and Trey
there was no
Hendrickson.
need to tag him.
No, sure, but I guess my point is that there is absolutely zero chance he is on their roster next season.
Yeah, but they blew that all up when they did what they did last year. It
Yeah,
was
for
ridiculous.
sure,
They should have signed him instead of Higgins.
agreed. But
Full
so
stop. That was the
that's
correct move.
negative move,
And
negative.
they don't draft well traditionally at certain positions. They struck gold there and they screwed up.
Yeah,
I hope
um,
Joe Burrow gets out of there.
yeah, that it's bad.
He's going to
Um,
be Dan Marino part due.
Drew Dahlman after the Bears had a very, very good season, and backed kind of all starting with the changes to the offensive line. They had a really, really good offensive line. Drew Dahlman had a career year at center for them. 27 years old, retired today. So that hurts if you're a Ravens fan. It's not great. Or why did I say the Ravens? I was thinking about Tyler Linderbaum, who the Ravens did not tag today, which is interesting as well. But if you're a Bears fan, that kind of hurts. Um,
Right.
Obviously, I trust Ben Johnson to get everything done and worked out and fix the offensive line. He already did it once in 1 year, and so can he replace another guy? Yeah, probably. But that is hard if you're a Bears fan to lose a guy like that.
But we've had this discussion before, and it's possible that Ben Johnson's in the same vein of a Shanahan,
Sure.
where a lot of what they do is scheme. It's not, you can't have garbage out there on the field, but you can have guys that may not succeed in other schemes that might in his. And so right now he has earned every bit of credibility. We'll see what happens. Like if it doesn't go well, that's a different story. But right now um he's at least earned the idea that he'll fix it and figure it out. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair. Um, Last little thing I would say is that
Quickly.
uh, Mike Evans and then Alec Pierce, for the Colts, have both, because they're both free agents, have both been linked to the Bills, as well as a potential possible Tyreek Hill rumor as well. Maybe the Bills figure some stuff out and actually go get some help for Josh Allen. Maybe they have a running
First,
game
I'm tired of this excuse for Josh Allen,
and
but
receiver.
whatever.
I mean,
Um,
it's a valid
look,
one, but maybe they have a running back and receivers at the same time. That'd be scary.
here's the thing. Whatever. First, I don't really put Mike Evans in this category anyway, predominantly because I feel like the Bucks are going to do what they can, and I feel like Mike would take a hometown discount to stay in Tampa for his career and play with Baker. I think there's a real
Maybe
relationship
not
there.
if he has a chance to actually go get a ring, which he really doesn't in
But I
Tampa.
don't know that he doesn't
He
where he
does not.
is.
He doesn't. They did
I
not have a good
Then tell
year
me why it's different in Buffalo.
because they have a Josh
Did
Allen.
they get did they get better at coach? Has Josh Allen ever played in a championship game?
I
Has
don't
Josh Allen ever been to a Super Bowl?
I
Like,
don't
no,
I don't
none of those
know.
things are true.
Well, neither has Baker, right? So,
No,
uh,
but the other thing is Evans has one already.
sure, but that doesn't mean that he would want a second one any less.
I don't know. He lives in Florida right now, and he'd have to go live in Buffalo.
He could still live in Florida for 7 months out of the year.
And the New York taxes in New York, the taxes in New York negate any difference in pay he'll get. So
I don't think he's getting a crazy contract either way, just because I mean, he's old and
either way,
coming off
there's
of a
no income tax in the state
massive
of Florida.
injury. Yeah,
There's no income tax in the state of Florida. So
true. I
anyway,
mean, property is also way more valuable there.
even if they paid him 10 million more, he'd probably pay it all in taxes. So
But that's all, I think that's all the
all right,
NFL news.
combine. And I
Um,
don't want to spend a lot of time on the combine.
yeah, there's not a ton of reasons to spend a ton of time on it. I will
Plus, my
say
trivia question ties back to it.
okay. I will say Arvell Reese, the kind of hybrid linebacker edge for Ohio State, was absolutely. We knew he was a great athlete, absolutely dominant in the combine this weekend, and might have solidified himself as the second or third overall pick. And then if that's the case, then he'll obviously end up playing full time edge because a linebacker, an outside linebacker, is not valued the same way as a pass rusher is. If he goes that high, that's what he would be doing. But he just had a phenomenal weekend. So shout out to him. Jeremiah Love as well had a phenomenal testing. He ran really well, but then of course he participated in the running back drills, which he didn't have to do because he was already far and away going to be the only running back taken in the first round, and he was going to be a top 10 pick. And he
Who's that?
killed Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame,
Mm.
and he killed the running back drills. And then after that, went out and performed in the receiver drills and did really well in those as well. Everybody was kind of mocking him for months and months to the Chiefs at 10 because it was a perfect fit. I don't think he's getting there. I really don't. He could go 4 or 5 in this draft. Like, uh, he's really good. Uh, yeah. The last guy I
The
wanted.
only Yep, go ahead.
What were you gonna say?
No, go ahead.
The last guy I wanted to mention, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but the Arkansas quarterback, he's like,
Jalen Green
yeah. I was gonna say Green, but I couldn't remember his first name. Um,
ran a 4.36.
at 6'5" and like 240 or something stupid like that. Like,
It's intriguing.
put him on the fins.
I
He's got a
look, I don't believe
cannon.
he's not first rounds
Oh no,
intriguing.
obviously no. He like
But yeah, if you could get him
maybe
if you could get him 3 to 5,
if
he's
that. It
worth a shot
may even be
because you're
later
not
than
paying
that.
anything at
Right.
that
It may
level.
even be later than that. Now there have been several teams that have already said like they would take him a little bit higher if he would play tight end or, receiver or something, but it depends on whether or not he'll do that.
It's intriguing to have him on your roster.
It would be fun. Possibly. Throw him
The
in
only
there.
other player that I found interesting was Brennan Thompson.
Okay. Yeah.
He kind of fits what we've traditionally been trying to do. Now I know McDaniel's gone. I mean, he ran a 4.26. Um, don't know much about him other than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would like to give my overall take on the combine. I typically speaking, unless there's a player I'm interested in, don't pay much attention. like when Baker was there and Kyler was there and guys like the OU players go, I might pay a little bit of attention. I mean, Deion Burks did okay. He definitely ran the 40. He ran a 4.340. Um,
Owen Heineke had a really good day, our linebacker. But
yeah,
there's still question marks of whether or not he's going to get another year of eligibility. They've denied it, but
yeah.
he's
So
pursuing it still. So,
anyway, in general, I think the combine, other than just being something to watch for in the NFL when there's nothing else, although this is kind of the heat of the NBA season. I mean, I didn't watch a second of the combine this year. I don't usually watch a whole lot anyway, but I think the combine is just dumb. Like I find some of it to be interesting. Like I like the 40 just because I'm curious about it. But it doesn't mean because I can run a 4.26 if I'm Brennan Thompson in a controlled environment without pads on that I can do it on a football
well,
field.
it's less about that.
And
It's more to me about the fact that how often in a game are you running 40 yards untouched with nothing in front of you? You're not,
never.
unless you
That's my
take a
point.
slant and you're wide open, and the question is, can you get it to the house? Right?
Right.
That's it.
But even then, when you're wearing shoulder pads, a helmet, and everything else, it's still different.
Right,
Doesn't
for
mean
sure.
you're still not whatever that difference was for you on a football on this race wouldn't necessarily still be the difference when you have pads on. Sure, maybe, but that's not even necessarily true. And so I would just say that I find it interesting because I'm a runner, and so I find the 40 interesting period. However, it, you you have tons of film on these guys.
Yeah, obviously the
You
film is the
should be
most
able to
important piece.
watch actual football games, decide whether the guy's a good route runner, how fast is he in game speed, how accurate is he as a quarterback with guys he's familiar with. Because even the combine doesn't tell you much about the quarterback
The film,
because you're reliant on a guy you've never played with before, running routes. He may be good a route runner, he may not
there's
be.
so much timing
Timing
involved
doesn't
in that.
matter.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
even throwing at the combine doesn't mean anything. Like, a pro day is much more telling,
For
right?
sure.
Because everybody was not everybody, just a few idiots were talking about how, well, Mendoza's not throwing. What's that mean? Nothing.
It means nothing.
It
It means he
means that
knows
he
he's the
knows
number
that
one
that
pick. It doesn't matter.
first of all, he knows he's the number one pick. Second of all, because all you could do is hurt your stock. Second of all, a pro day is more indicative of what a guy can actually do. He's throwing to receivers he's comfortable with and knows the timing. Those are the kinds of things you want out of a quarterback,
Yeah.
not whether he can step on the football field and throw to a guy he's never thrown to before. Who cares?
Hey,
That's a rare scenario.
that Zach Wilson pro day throw set the Jets back 3 years.
But that is the normal environment.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm just messing around, but
Yeah, no, I understand. So I just
that
think,
pro day throw had us believing as
yeah, I just think
NFL fans.
in general, the combine is a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a team and want to do interviews and stuff like that, it is at least a centralized place to do that where you don't have to fly 50 guys to where you are. So it is a centralized place to accomplish interviews and things like that.
I will
Get
say
to
that
know
that
a
is a
guy.
big piece of it. The interview process is a big deal, I
The
would
athletic
say.
stuff is just dumb to
Yeah,
me.
absolutely. Absolutely. I will say,
So,
I have heard rumorings that maybe the process is, a little bit inhumane, a little bit like
well,
racist, if you want
I'm
to
not
call
going
it
to get
that.
into that argument one way or the other. I look, humane is not the word I would use. I I understand
Very questionable
the
morals on whether or not
concept.
you want to pay a guy $1 million a year. Very
Eh,
questionable morals.
right. I don't even know that I understand the argument. Do I think it's a ridiculous statement? Sure. I understand what they're trying to say.
Right. I'll let people
But
do
that's
a.
like
I'll
but
let
that's
people.
also
I'll let
but
people
that's
do a
also like
lot to
saying
pay
any
me $1 million
tryout
a year.
but but that's also like saying every tryout in the history of sports is the same thing.
Right.
This is essentially a tryout. Now, is it a stupid version of a tryout? Yes. All of these guys have tons of film. Go watch it. If you want to interview them, interview them. So again, I think it is actually a good conduit for the interview process, right?
Get everybody
Um,
all in one place. Yeah.
right. The athletic stuff's whatever.
Absolutely. I agree. But
Yeah.
all
All right.
right. We can
NBA.
transition to the NBA. I wanted to
And I
start
think, yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to start with this. Do you know what yesterday was in terms of NBA history?
I did not read it, but I know Shea set some kind of record yesterday.
That was
What
actually
is he,
on
3 games off of the other one right now
yes, that was actually on
for the
Sunday.
twin?
On Sunday, he broke Wilt's record for the most consecutive 20-point games on the road. So not all, but just
Okay.
on the road.
But he's
So
like 3 games away from doing the total now, right?
yeah. Um, so very similar vein.
By the way, can we just stop for a second? For all the Shea haters out there, anytime you have the opportunity to beat a Wilt scoring record, you can't fake that. Jordan didn't do this, and I think he's the GOAT. LeBron hasn't done it, and it's not like we're talking 30 or 40-point games here. We're talking 20-point games, right? We're talking at least Kobe didn't do it, Shaq didn't do it. Like, let's just put this in perspective. When you can beat a Wilt scoring record, it's elite. Full stop.
So
No exceptions, no caveats. It's a Wilt scoring record.
very similar vein. Yesterday, March 2nd, right, was the 64th anniversary of the game. And
The 100-point game.
yeah, and I was just reading into it a little bit, and there's always been skeptics. I've never really taken into
There's no
skepticism.
film of it.
I've never really taken into
There is
skepticism.
audio.
I've never really taken into consideration like skepticism and like conspiracy theories. I'm not that kind of person. Obviously, I do my own research, but for the most part, like if somebody says something, I kind of take it at face value, right? I don't necessarily like think about it and be like, oh, I wonder if that's actually what happened, right? Like in anything, you know what I mean? Like I research stuff, but the more I kind of look into it, it's actually absurd, right? Because so most players, right? This is kind of the thought process I was having. Most players, while obviously they do have a career high, is relatively similar to their other like best career games, right? Like Shea's career high is like 53 or 54, but he's had 2 or 3 other 50-point games. He's had obviously a multitude of 40-point games, right? Even Kobe, his career high is 81, but he scored 60 points like several other times, 60 plus,
Yeah.
right? Wilt
Yep.
Chamberlain, other than the 100, his career high is like 77, I think, which is still an absurd amount. But you're saying in one game, he took a third of that high and added it to it in that game?
So let me go down this road with you for just a minute. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, right? I read something about this recently, actually. So I guess I did know that because that's probably why that article existed.
Okay.
There's a couple of other things about the 100-point game people don't know. First of all, Wilt was not a career good free throw shooter.
28 of 32. 28 of
But he wasn't
32.
that good. You could have a statistical anomaly like that.
But even a statistical anomaly like Giannis, right? In game 6 of the NBA Finals, when he scored 50, he had been terrible free throw shooting. And in that game, I can't remember. There was definitely a 17, and I can't remember if that was the makes or the attempts, but he was either 13 of 17 or 17 of 20 in that game, which for Giannis, great game. But even then, he still missed the same number of free throws in that game as Wilt did with half the attempts, right? And that was a good Giannis free throw game.
So like, there's one other thing people don't know about this game.
It can be anomaly without being like absurd.
I find this to be super intriguing, and I had never heard this until I read this article the other day.
Okay.
He scored 100. Let's just assume that's true. I think it's true.
Okay.
Whatever.
I tend to also. I just think it's interesting.
Yeah. I think there's reason to be skeptical when it comes to like there's no video. There is audio. There is audio of the game.
Limited, but yeah.
Here's the thing I never knew. When he hit 100, there were 46 seconds remaining on the clock.
You're going to tell me he didn't score another time?
The fans rushed the court.
No.
The refs could not get them off. They never finished that game.
No way.
That game ended with 46 seconds on the clock.
I have never heard this before.
The game ended. The game wasn't over. He
What?
could have scored again.
What? That's insane. Okay,
46
now you're
seconds.
blowing my mind even more. I'd never heard that. Okay.
Yeah, I just read it the other day when this happened. When this,
So
I guess, the anniversary was.
another crazy thing. He took 63 field goal attempts in that game. 63. Do you know, since that day, how many times a player, not 63, a single player has taken 50 field goal attempts in a game since that day? Take a guess.
Take it.
How many times do you think a single player has taken 50 field goal attempts in a game? He took 63. How many times a player has taken 50 field goal attempts in a game since that day?
Uh, maybe. I mean, very few.
The answer is one. One singular time when Kobe scored 60 in his final career game because he went 20 of 50 in that game and scored 60 points on 50 shot attempts. He was terribly inefficient. It was a bad game. I watched every second of it live, loved it. But that's the only other time a player in the history of basketball since that day has taken 50 plus field goal attempts in a game, and Kobe took 50 on the dot. Wilt Chamberlain took 63 that day.
Yeah, there was another part too that kind of led
And
to the free throw
it was
attempts.
in regulation. Like you said, 46 seconds left in the game.
Yeah.
Like 169
But
points the team scored in regulation.
they didn't score 169 points.
The team? Yeah, the team. The game ended 169 to 147.
147.
No. That was how much the Knicks scored. He scored they scored 169. I'm pretty sure.
I don't think so. 100 to 147 is what I show.
Yo,
There was one other thing that allowed this to occur, by the way. When he started getting close, the other team was like, "We don't want this to happen," and he's not a good free throw shooter.
yeah.
So the reason his free throw attempts were so high is they were kind of hacking him, and he started hitting them.
Yeah, no, it was 169 to 147. Philadelphia Warriors against the New York Knicks. He scored 100 of 169.
Got it.
But anyways,
So anyway, there was time left on the clock.
another crazy thing.
Let's get past Will quick.
Okay,
'Cause
one
he's
last
dead.
one last thing.
He doesn't care that we're talking about this.
One last thing. From February in 1962, right? From February 13th to March 2nd, which is when he scored 100 points. So like a 3-week stretch. He scored 60 plus points 7 different times in that stretch. In like
Okay.
3 weeks. Do you know
Yeah.
how many players in the history of basketball have 7 career 60-point games?
Well, I mean, Jordan does.
No.
Jordan doesn't have 7? Because his all-time great, I think, was 63 in MSG, I believe. Then it could just be Wilt, if you're telling me Jordan didn't do it. Kobe, maybe.
Number 2 for most 60-point games in a career is Kobe Bryant with 6. So you're telling me in that 3-week stretch, Wilt Chamberlain had more 60-point games than anybody else in their entire career.
He played a position, and he was kind of a physical freak of nature at the time. It was almost, this is a little unfair to everyone else and a little overkill for him, but it's almost like Shaq playing a high school team. I mean,
I'm not going to go that far, but and like you said, it is overkill.
I'm not trying to take any disrespect or respect away from Wilt. I'm just, if you'd thrown Shaq in those games too, he would have destroyed everyone.
Another crazy thing is, right, in his entire career, he never fouled out. That's just absurd. Like, that's just so wild.
He didn't have to touch anyone to block stuff.
Like, sure, but never, not one time, right? Like, I'm pretty sure I've seen Shea foul out of a game. He's a shooting guard.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like,
all right,
one time.
We're gonna do this relatively quick, but let's talk about
also,
top 5 contenders
sorry,
overall.
just last thing, because it's
quickly.
It's insane. He's the only player in NBA history to average 30 points and 20 boards in a season for a whole season. He did it 7 times. He's
Are you essentially right now just trying to confirm what I said, which
sure.
is
He's
if you're
also
going to touch a Wilt scoring record, it's elite.
yeah. Am I trying to hype up Shea? Obviously, I'm trying to hype up Shea right now. Yes, but
I
he
did that way more succinct earlier on.
he is
I said if you're
also the
touching a Wilt
only.
scoring record, you're
He
elite.
also, while doing all of this, is the only center in the history of basketball to ever lead the league in total assists for a whole season. The only one ever.
Jokic hasn't done that?
No, he's led the league in assists per game, but not total assists.
Okay. He's got to be damn close though.
Yeah, but for a whole season, he's the only center in the history of basketball to ever lead
Shocking
the
to me
league in
that
total
Jokic
assists.
hasn't done that, honestly. That's a little bit shocking.
Wilt is just
That
like
Jokic hasn't.
if you look up like a picture of the definition of the phrase "the man, the myth, the legend," it's literally just Wilt Chamberlain, right? Like he is just a mythic figure that somehow actually existed. It's mind blowing. Like I said, I'm not into conspiracy theories,
Right.
and I'm not into like
Yeah.
that kind of thing. I do believe that everything that is supposedly recorded did happen, right? But it's just mind boggling crap. And yes,
Okay.
Shea is about to beat a Wilt Chamberlain scoring record. So everybody that wants to hate on Shea can suck it because. By the way,
Right.
I will say the one thing I want to take back from last week that I did say, because Shea has since come back. I absolutely care. Shea better not miss another game this season. I absolutely care if he wins MVP. And by the way, if he plays the rest of the season, he's going to run away with it, and deservedly so, right? But he scored 30 twice
I
since
did
then.
something that changed my mind slightly on this because I've been on the Jaylen Brown train.
Right.
Which is
Put it into my
the
veins.
games.
I need him to win MVP. I need him to.
The game. I'd rather win the title, but whatever.
Obviously, I want both, but
the games that he missed compared to other MVP caliber players, Jokic, yada yada yada. The Thunder had the worst winning percentage during that stretch
because we're not a
did.
good team without him. I've been saying it. I've been on this track.
That's not true.
We're an okay team without him. We are a 9 seed in the Western Conference without
some
him.
of those teams, it wasn't just him out. Dub was out. Chet was out.
Yeah,
Hartenstein
obviously.
was
Like,
out.
yes, we compound on it.
Wasn't just him.
But over an 82 game extrapolated, like even if everybody but him plays, we're like an 8-9 seed in the Western Conference. Like in the East, we might be 6.
Nuggets actually had a better record without him, which is really weird.
It's like the only time in Jokic's it's the only time in Jokic's
Right.
career where like they actually did okay without him on the court.
Like it doesn't mean anything,
but yeah,
it doesn't mean anything. But I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, no,
All
like Shea is insane.
Give me your top 5 teams or your top actual contending teams, 5 of them.
Okay,
not per conference, just overall.
Yeah. Just
and brief description of why, and then I'll tell you mine.
Okay, so I want to lead this with kind of what gave me the idea. Is have you heard of Phil Jackson's 40-20 rule?
Yes.
Okay. So, and I'm sure you've seen the post where like this season, it's only the Spurs, us, and the Pistons that qualify for that.
I haven't seen the post, but I know what you're talking about. I know the philosophy.
Right. Well, if you use that philosophy, only us, the Pistons, and the Spurs this season qualify, right? And on top of that, if you take it back to the first year that the three-point line was introduced to the NBA, which is 79-80. Since then, so 45 seasons, only 4 NBA champions didn't qualify for that in the regular season, right? Only 4. That's it. It was the 04 Pistons, the 21 Bucks because Giannis was hurt early in the year, the 95 Rockets because Hakeem was hurt for like half the year, and then there was one other that's blanking me right now. But anyways, point being, very, very limited. So it kind of does track, right? Which is kind of crazy that like something so kind of trivial as that really does kind of add up, which also does make it crazy to think that like if that's real, that like it does limit it to really only 3 teams. Anyways, all that wind up to say, the Pistons for me are a brutally tough cut from this list. I feel really bad for not having them in my top 5. I just think that...
Damn it, I thought that was going to be controversial and I didn't put them in my top 5.
It hurts me. It really does because I do like them. They're a good young team. They're a good defensive team. I love Cade.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. And I thought I thought this was going to be a generational beef. But the last 2 games made my mind up. You barely beat us in Detroit with 1 starter on the court being Lou Dort. You barely beat us. And then you almost lost to Cleveland without Harden and now and without Mitchell.
I
I'm
don't.
sorry, I can't take it seriously right now.
I
I
think
just
it's
can't.
deeper than that, right? Because game 57 in the regular season doesn't mean anything to me. But I do believe that you kind of see stuff like that in the sense of like they are still a young, relatively inexperienced team. They went 7 games last year with the Knicks, but other than that, like that's it. Um, in the first round, but they're a pretty inexperienced team. They're really young, and obviously you got to break through at some point if you're ever going to do it, right? We did last year, but I still think that they're a year away, which kind of sucks for them because this is the year. If you want it to be this year, this is the year, right? It's only going to get harder in that conference, right? Halliburton's going to come back, Tatum's going to
All
come
right,
back,
next you
maybe this
said
year.
they're not in it. So now
Anyways,
who's your list and why?
um, the Knicks are also a really tough cut for me, just because I don't think their defense holds up well enough in the playoffs. That's my big concern. That's what we saw last year. That
Yeah.
series with the Pacers, the reason they lost it was because they were giving up 120, 130 every game in the playoffs. That's insane. Can't do that and actually expect to sustain it and win. So they're a tough cut for me. The Rockets are a really tough cut for me because Kevin Durant in the playoffs can be Kevin Durant in the playoffs, and I just think that they don't have enough else right now, which is why. But
They don't have a they just don't have someone that can carry them in the big area
well, I think
against
Şengün is fine. I
yeah.
think it's actually the opposite. I don't think they have a guard that can play make well
I don't
enough and
know. I
lead
like
them. And
Şengün. I think
he is limited
I
for sure.
this is a little bit of a homer thing to say, I guess, but I think that Steven Adams was pretty critical
Absolutely. I mean, I
to
think
beating
that their
teams like the Spurs and us.
their biggest
Like I think they
superpower
were
was rebounding, and I think and getting
yeah,
second chance points,
yeah,
especially against two elite defenses like the Spurs and the Thunder. When you're going to play
I
elite
think the
defenses
loss
like
of
that, you need
Adams was
second chance
big.
points. You need extra
Yeah,
possessions. That is a
yeah,
massive deal for sure.
yeah.
I do believe so. They're a very tough cut because at any given point, Kevin Durant can be Kevin Durant and go win you a 7 game series. Like it can happen. I don't expect it to. That's why they're off my list. But because they have Kevin
Alright,
Durant, that factor, they're a tough cut. The last tough
yeah.
cut, just because in the last 2 years they are fourth in
You
playoff
still haven't given me your
wins.
list,
Yeah,
but
they've made the conference finals back-to-back years. The Timberwolves were my last tough cut. Not as tough as the other three. Um, they are a really good team. I just don't trust them necessarily. Anyways, so into my actual list at 5, and the reason they're at 5 right now is because there is a potential chance that their best player might come back here in the next 3 weeks, month or so, whatever. And if he can play like 75% of himself, the Boston Celtics got as big of a chance as anybody. I'm not counting on it, which is why they're at 5. If I was able to count on Jason Tatum to be 80% of Jason Tatum going into the playoffs, I'd put them at like 3, right? Or maybe even 2. Um, for now, for me, the Celtics are at 5. They've played phenomenal basketball. I think they can win a series or maybe even 2 without Tatum. They can't win it all without him, I don't believe. But if he comes back, which people are rumoring that he might, which is actually absurd to have torn your Achilles in the second round of the playoffs and come back before the regular season is over the next year is wild. Absolutely absurd. So if he does, great. I still don't know that I trust him to get into game pace fast
right.
enough and all that to be 75% of Jason Tatum
Yeah,
come
I got your
playoff time.
pace.
That's a big deal for me. So,
5,
anyways,
got it.
5 is the Celtics.
Fine.
4 to me is the Spurs. And Wemby obviously is dominant. And they've got great depth. They probably have the second best depth of any team in the league, only behind us. They're a really well-rounded team. They're just young. They haven't been there. They're inexperienced. Nobody's been there. The only player that has like done anything in the playoffs on their team is De'Aaron Fox, and he played 7 games against the Golden State Warriors like 3 years ago. Right? I just you gotta get there and do that first. And can you maybe do it just because Wimby's that good? If whatever, maybe right.
If they do, no one no player uh no player has ever done this in the first year they made the playoffs. So
Uh,
he would be the first.
Bill Walton. Bill Walton did in like
Okay.
1977 or 76 or whatever it was
Modern.
for the Blazers. But other that was before the 3-point line existed, right? So
Yeah.
other than that, like yeah, that's literally it, right? Like so I don't
Yeah.
expect it to happen. And for what it's worth, if they are able to get it done and win the West or win a title this year or whatever, it would take such an insane performance from Victor Wembanyama that it, and like I said, no discredit to the Spurs. I think they have great depth, right? It would take such a crazy performance from him to have to beat Shea and have to beat Jokic and all that, that I would come on here the day that he wins the West and I would say he's the best player in the league. In the league already. And that's absurd to say because it is slightly
If they won a title.
right. While not likely, it is
It's not
possible,
gonna.
which is why they're in my
All
four
right, next.
spot. Anyways, so
3.
I've got them at 4 just because of lack of experience. At 3, and I didn't think I was going to have them. I really, really didn't. But first of all, like I said, the East is wide open, and before he got hurt, which just brutal for them as a team that they trade for him and he gets hurt. But before he got hurt, the Cavs were 6-1 with James Harden, with the 6th best defense in the league and the 2nd best offense. And I get it
I
was
mean, they're 7-3 over the
7
last 10.
games. I get it was 7 games with him, but his injury is not massive. It's a broken thumb on his non-dominant hand, and he said he's going to play through it. He
Yeah.
hasn't played since it happened, but he's going to come back and he's going to be fine. And he's just
Well, but
an
right now
offensive engine. And Donovan Mitchell's incredible.
But their seeding doesn't mean much. They're not going to get the 1 seed.
Right.
You
So
might as
they
well make sure
exactly.
fine.
And so I think they've got a better chance than anybody else to come out of the East. And I get
I mean, they still have a game lead over the 5th.
that they've been the team to beat for like 3 years now other than the Celtics, right? For like 2 or 3 years now, in the East, and they've been a great regular season team in those years and whatnot, and they've underperformed in the playoffs, but they've had tons of injuries. I think with James Harden being able to take a back seat on offense to Donovan Mitchell, he can be literally everything that they need. So,
Understood. 2.
the Cavs are going to be the highest competition in the East. That's what that conference is called. Yep. Anyways, number 2, they have Nikola Jokic, so this is the Denver Nuggets. I honestly, right now, with the way they're playing, they kind of scare me a little bit. It scare me for them, not as a Thunder fan. They scare me for
Yeah,
them
no, I understand.
in
I
the
understand.
sense of like they're really slowing down right now, and they've had a ton of injuries. Like Aaron Gordon's had 2 hamstring injuries this year. Obviously, Nikola Jokic was hurt. Jamal Murray, whatever. But like they're kind of slowing down right now, and it's not good for them. So it kind of scares me a little bit. I think in all actuality, as a team, I actually have them below the Cavs and even below the Spurs as well. But they have Nikola Jokic, so at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, right? Like I told you going into the second round last year, I would have rather, as the Thunder, I would have rather played the Nuggets than the Clippers because I thought the Clippers were better matched up to potentially do something dangerous against us. And yet they took us 7 games, and it was a brutal series. It was super hard because they have Nikola Jokic, and it doesn't matter, right? That was even with the Aaron Gordon hamstring injury, and even with Michael Porter Jr. literally making them play 4-on-5 every time he was on the court because he was so brutally bad in that series with his shoulder injury. And they still took us 7. And we were far and away the best team in the league, and they still took us 7 because Nikola Jokic is that guy. So at the end of the day, I got to put them at 2 until Nikola Jokic is dead. And then at number 1, it's just not a question, especially whenever Shea comes back and is doing what he's doing off rip. Like, we're just such a good team. The defense is incredible. The ferocity is there. Like, I had said in the middle point of this season when we were going on our lull, like before Shea had gotten hurt, that it just seemed to me like we got lackadaisical. We got a little bit complacent. That's gone, right? Like, that's gone. We're out there ferocious as ever, passionate,
Yep.
getting into
Okay.
it. So obviously they're my number 1. They have all the chance in the world to heartbreak me again, but hopefully they don't. Everybody's talking about like nobody's repeated since the 17-18 Warriors. What's actually crazy is since the 18-19 Warriors, because they got back to the finals the year after and lost to the Raptors. Since then, no champion has even gotten out of the second round. Like, no champion since then has even made the conference finals, which is absurd. So I think seeding actually matters, though, more than I thought it would, just because whichever team ends up as the 1 seed between us, the Nuggets, and the Spurs only has to play one of the other 2 teams once. Like, only has to play one of the other 2 teams, whereas the other 2 would have to go through both, theoretically. So I think that matters a lot.
Okay. So I guess since you did it, I'll do a couple of lists of difficult cuts.
Okay.
Rockets and Wolves are both on that list for me too. Now, if anybody was going to prove me wrong, it would be the Wolves. They have made the conference championship game 2 years in a row.
Absolutely.
Ant is ridiculous in the playoffs.
And I think they have less
Um,
overall holes as a team than the Rockets do.
yeah, but they have looked mediocre this year. He hasn't, but the
Right,
team
right.
has.
They're just
Um,
inconsistent. And you see that in
so
the playoffs
I'm
too. Like
cutting
they have a
them.
game where they lose by 40 and whatnot.
Right. It's a tough cut because they're difficult to pick against in the playoffs. Ant has been a winner in the playoffs. I get that he's not got past the championship game, but he had 2 tough outs,
And
right?
you played Luka and Shea in those series.
Right.
Like
100%. Um, Rockets, same reasons we sort of discussed, like Steven Adams, I think is a huge loss for that team. This one is going to shock you a little bit, but there's a caveat to it.
okay.
The Clippers. Only because if Kawhi
Get
can
in the dance.
play, if he gets in, ooh, I would. If he gets in as the 8 seed, I wouldn't want to be the
I
1
don't want to
seed.
play him. I mean, I still want to be the 1
So
seed, but I don't want to play him. I don't want to
look,
play
I
him.
would pick us to win it. But if he keeps playing the way he has this season, and he is inspiring that team to play better.
I mean, since like
I
the
if
midway
they
point
get
of
in,
December, he has been the best player in the league. In the league.
yeah, I'm cutting him because I don't know that they're going to get in. I don't know that he can stay healthy. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
There's so many question
But
marks. They're a worse
if
team than they
they
were
got
last
in,
year.
if they got in and playoff Kawhi can put together a couple of series, so that's a tough cut for me. I don't know what's going to happen. I just know, to your point, he's been the best player in the league for a couple of months.
I considered
He's
it.
been
I considered
he's
talking
been
about him.
vintage.
I'm glad you did
So
because
I'm putting him on, and they're the 9th seed now, right? They're a game and a half out, I think, of the 8. So right now they'd be in the play-in. So
and win or go
other
home, give
difficult.
Kawhi that situation like he's not losing it.
I know this is disrespectful. The Pistons are not a difficult cut for me for the reasons I mentioned.
I mean, they were a difficult
Um,
cut for me, but I understand what you're saying.
the Cavs are also not a difficult cut for me. I just don't trust him. James is an elite scorer, always has been. He's a playmaker. He doesn't play defense. I just don't take you
I
seriously if you can't at least try.
I just
Um,
don't think that him in himself is worse than the product that the Knicks defense is going to put on the court, which is why I put them over the Knicks.
that's fair, but anyway. Okay, so at my 5 spot, I'm keeping the Knicks in there.
Okay.
You have Brunson, similar to the Ant argument.
Brunson's a dog.
It's just that he's in the East.
Brunson's a
If
dog.
Ant was in the East, I wouldn't be cutting Ant, right? So he is just
If
clutch.
Anthony Edwards was in the East, I'd pick him to win it. Like,
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. And so it's the same thing for Brunson. Your defense argument isn't wrong. Cat is a defensive liability.
and Brunson is as well, in fairness.
But
Like,
but Brunson is just so elite offensively, and he's
well,
so
so is
clutch.
Cat,
You
but
know,
like, I just don't
but
trust him.
he's not clutch in the sense that
Oh, no,
Brunson's
no, no, no.
clutch.
But I was saying elite
Um,
offensively. Yeah.
my 4 is the Celtics. I
Like I said,
I
they're
I
in my
said
5
what I
right now
said
only
about.
because I don't know the Tatum situation. But like,
I don't care about the Tatum situation.
I do. I don't think they can win it
That just
without
makes
him.
them better. If Tatum comes back, I'll pick them to win the East for sure. They'll be in the finals.
I think I would. I think I would at that point, depending on
So
what he looks like. But I think I would.
right, but even if he's 75%, you still got Brown.
Oh, that's
Like,
right. Yeah, 75%. I definitely pick him. But if he's like
yeah, so
55, 60% hobbling around, then I'm like,
yeah. I mean, look, in fact right now I'm picking him to win the East. I don't care if Jalen or if Tatum comes back.
I can't go that far.
So
But
I'm putting him
I
at
respect the
4.
take. I do.
But the reason they're at 4 is because whoever wins the West will win.
I do believe that.
That's my opinion.
I do believe that.
Even if it's my 3rd, which is the Spurs, right? I don't think they win it but if they somehow got to the finals, I think the top 3 Western teams are better than any of the Eastern teams. I just do. So,
I think
so
if
I've
the
got
Cavs
Spurs
get
at
there, they
3.
have enough firepower. But
if they get there, but I don't even have them as a contender right
Sure,
now. So,
sure.
um, so Spurs at 3, and the reason they're at 3 is the youth. The math says they won't do it, right? But if they got to the finals, I would pick them to win.
Yeah.
Um, Nuggets, you got Jokic, you got the best player in the world, you got a chance. You're right. He hasn't looked quite right yet since coming back. I mean, his numbers, he's put up big numbers, but he's
Big
turned the
counting
ball over
stats, but not
uncharacteristically.
efficiently. Yeah, like, he had a game where he had 7
And
turnovers, and then the next game had, like,
yeah,
9. Like,
right. And like, so turnovers for him are not his MO. And so that I'm not concerned about it, but it's a thing right now.
sure.
Um, uh, and then, you know, obviously at 1, it's us. Now, I will say the caveat to all of that is, yes, we're still the 1 seed in the West. It's only a 3-game lead over the Spurs right now. I don't suspect now that Shea's back that we're, as long as he stays back, that we're going to fall back off of that. I think we will lock up the 1 seed at some point. It's going to take longer, obviously, than it did last year to lock that up. We're going to have to play more down the stretch. I would say the one caveat to all of this, the thing that I don't think is talked about enough, and we have talked about it before, the injury bug has me spooked.
It's scary.
We have played with our starters 2 games all year. 2.
It's scary.
The injury bug has me spooked. Because even if Shea plays throughout the playoffs, if J Dub doesn't come back, if Hartenstein misses time, if Chet misses time, if Caruso misses time, our odds go way down. Now
Sure,
I
they
get we've been
obviously go
maintaining.
down.
I
I
get we've been
believe
maintaining regardless,
as long as
and we have
Shea
stimulated. We have 3 starters on our bench,
as long as
legitimately 3
as
starters.
long as
But
Shea is on the court, I believe
oh,
that.
we have a chance. I'm not saying we
No,
can't
for
do it.
sure. But I believe, like, if as long as Shea is on the court, I would pick us, even if any combination of 2 of those guys are out, as long as it's not Dub and Chet, right? Like, if it's Dub and Hartenstein, or if it's,
It
say,
also can't be Hartenstein and Chet.
no. Sure. Although I think that that's semi-manageable, but fair. As long as it's not Dub
Not
and
playing Wemby
as long as it's not Dub and
or
Chet,
Jokic.
as long as
Yeah,
it's not Dub and Chet, because those are our second and third best player. If
yeah.
it's any combination of 2 of anybody else, I still pick us to win any series. Now,
Yeah,
obviously, our
like I
odds
said,
drop. It
just
gets exponentially harder.
with the
Duh.
MVP, you got a chance, but
And if it's just
the
Dub
injury
out, if
bug does
everybody else
have me.
plays, we're
Yeah,
still winning. Is
the injury bug does have me
I pick
spooked.
it. Yeah, no, it's scary. It's scary. But
All right,
I'm not worried about
wrap it up,
Shea
trivia
being
time,
out.
and
So,
then I'm starving. So
all right,
trivia
y'all.
time.
Thanks for listening to us yap once again. It was
Generational beef.
another great episode of the pod. Follow all the socials, like, comment, subscribe, all the fun stuff. You know what to do. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Generational beef.